Feeling lost? It's strange, isn't it? How you can be surrounded by people, yet still feel like no one truly sees you. You laugh when you're supposed to. You nod when someone talks. But inside, it feels like there's a quiet emptiness that no one else can hear. It's like walking through life with a fog covering your eyes. Everything's there, but nothing feels real anymore. You start wondering when it all began. Was it that one bad day that turned into a bad week? Was it the moment you stopped doing the things you loved because you didn't see the point anymore? Or was it when you realized that no matter how much you try, life just doesn't feel like it used to? You remember the times when you had direction, when you woke up with energy, when your heart actually felt alive. You used to have dreams that made your eyes shine, but now it's like they've faded into the background, replaced by questions you can't even answer. You tell yourself you'll figure it out tomorrow, but tomorrow keeps coming, and nothing changes. You scroll through your phone, you see others smiling, achieving, living, and you wonder if they ever feel this lost too. Maybe they do. Maybe everyone does, but they just hide it better. Maybe we've all become experts at pretending we're okay, smiling on the outside, silently breaking on the inside. And that's what being lost really feels like. Not being sad all the time, not crying every day, but just existing in a space where nothing feels certain. You start doubting yourself, doubting your worth, doubting if you even have a purpose anymore. You look around for signs, for something, anything that tells you what to do next. But all you hear is silence. And in that silence, you start asking questions you never thought you'd ask. Who am I really? Why am I here? What am I even doing with my life? The answers don't come. Just more questions, more confusion, and maybe a little bit of pain. Because deep down, you miss the version of yourself that felt sure. The one who used to believe, who used to try, who used to care. You want to go back to that person, but you don't know how. You try to distract yourself, watch a movie, listen to music, talk to someone, but nothing fills that space inside. Because what you've lost isn't something small. It's your connection to yourself, and no one can give that back to you except you. But maybe being lost isn't as hopeless as it feels. Maybe being lost is what happens right before you find something new. Maybe it's the universe's way of forcing you to stop, to breathe, to question what you've been doing, and to start again. Not because you have to, but because you're meant to. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just in the middle of a chapter that doesn't have clarity yet, and that's okay. Sometimes feeling lost is just your soul's way of saying, I'm ready for something different. Maybe you've been trying so hard to hold everything together that you never stop to ask yourself what you're really holding on to. You keep running, hoping the confusion will fade, but it doesn't. It follows you, to work, to bed, even in your moments of silence. You tell yourself you're fine, but deep down, there's a part of you that's tired of pretending, tired of fighting a battle that no one else even sees. It's hard, isn't it? Waking up every morning and not knowing why. You look in the mirror and see someone who looks like you, but doesn't feel like you. Your smile feels rehearsed. Your eyes look distant, and your heart feels heavy with things you can't put into words. You want to cry, but you don't even know why. You just feel this ache, not sharp, but constant, like something inside you is slowly slipping away. And you try to find reasons. You think maybe it's your job, maybe it's the people around you, maybe it's your past, maybe it's just life. But no matter where you look, the answers never come. It's like searching for light in a place that was never meant to have any. You start wondering if you've made too many mistakes. Maybe you took a wrong turn somewhere. Maybe you trusted the wrong people, loved too deeply, gave too much, and now you're left with nothing to give yourself. Maybe that's what being lost really is. Not about not knowing where you are, but realizing you gave so much of yourself away that you don't know who you are anymore. And yet, in that emptiness, there's a strange kind of honesty. When you're lost, the masks fall off. You can't pretend anymore. You can't force yourself to be someone you're not. You're left with your raw, unfiltered self, scared, confused, but real. And maybe that's where healing begins. Because sometimes being lost is not a punishment, it's a pause. A chance to stop living on autopilot. A chance to breathe and see what truly matters. Maybe life takes away your direction so you can learn to listen. Not to the noise around you, but to the quiet voice within. You see, when everything feels uncertain, that's when truth starts whispering. It tells you to slow down, to look deeper, to let go of the things that no longer belong to you. The people, the expectations, the weight of pretending. It tells you that maybe you're not lost at all. Maybe you're just being guided somewhere new, somewhere softer, somewhere real. And even though you can't see the path right now, maybe that's okay. Because sometimes clarity doesn't come as a bright light. Sometimes it comes as a small spark inside you that says, keep going. Maybe the hardest part of feeling lost isn't the confusion itself. It's the fear that you'll never find your way again. You look at everyone else and it seems like they've figured it out. They have plans, goals, smiles that actually look real. And you're just trying to make it through another day without breaking down. You wonder, why can't I be like them? Why can't I just be okay? But maybe what you're not seeing is that everyone is carrying something. Everyone has nights they don't talk about. Everyone has moments when they question their worth, their choices, their place in this world. The difference is, some hide it better than others. But you're brave enough to feel it. Brave enough to admit that you don't have all the answers. There's beauty in that, in being lost. Because it means you're still searching. It means your heart still cares enough to look for something better, even when it hurts. It means you haven't given up. You might not realize it, but that pain, that emptiness, that endless wondering, it's shaping you into someone stronger, someone deeper. Maybe the path you thought was yours wasn't meant to last forever. Maybe life had to pull you away from the noise, from the people, from the plans, so you could find the truth that's been buried under all of it. Because sometimes, being lost is what happens when your soul outgrows the place it used to be. You can't fit into the same spaces anymore. You can't live the same story. You're being rewritten, and that's not a bad thing. It's okay if you don't know what comes next. It's okay if you don't have a plan. You don't have to rush to fix yourself. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. Maybe you just need to sit with yourself for a while. Not to judge, not to criticize, but to listen. To let your heart speak again, because it's been silent for too long. There's a quiet strength in stillness. When you stop fighting the confusion, you start to notice the small things again. The way sunlight feels on your skin, the sound of rain on your window, the warmth of a simple meal, the way your chest rises and falls when you breathe. It's in these tiny, ordinary moments that life starts whispering, you're still here. You still matter. You might not feel it yet, but this season of being lost is not permanent. You're not stuck forever. The road doesn't end here. It bends, it twists, it disappears for a while, but it continues. And when you least expect it, you'll find a new path. Maybe not the one you were looking for, but the one you needed all along. There comes a moment when the fog begins to lift, slowly, quietly, almost unnoticeably. One morning you wake up and something feels just a little different. The emptiness is still there, but it doesn't weigh quite as much. The world looks the same, yet somehow you see a small trace of color in it again. It's faint, fragile, but it's there, and that's how healing begins. Not with big moments, but with small ones. You start realizing that maybe you don't need to have everything figured out. Maybe life isn't about knowing exactly where you're going, but about having the courage to keep walking, even when you can't see the road. You begin to understand that being lost doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you're in the middle of change. And change always feels uncomfortable before it feels right. There's something powerful in getting lost. It breaks you open. It strips away everything fake, every mask, every expectation, every voice that told you who you were supposed to be. It leaves you with only the truth, raw, uncertain, but real. And that truth becomes your compass. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it points you toward what truly matters. You start to remember small pieces of yourself. The things that made you happy before the world told you to be practical. The things that made you feel alive before life got too heavy. Maybe it's a hobby you stopped doing. Maybe it's a dream you buried. Maybe it's a kind of peace you thought you'd never feel again. But it's still there, waiting for you. And slowly the fear begins to fade. You stop running from your confusion and start walking with it. You start to trust that not knowing is part of the journey. You begin to see that every person who's ever found themselves first had to get lost. Every strong soul has walked through this darkness before finding their light. And now it's your turn. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're growing into someone new. Someone who's seen the empty spaces and learned to fill them with truth. Someone who's been lost and found strength in the silence. Someone who understands that life isn't about perfection. It's about becoming. So if you feel lost right now, take a breath. Look around. You're exactly where you need to be. Maybe not where you thought you would be, but where your soul needed to pause, to learn, to heal. The road ahead is still unwritten, and maybe that's the most beautiful part. Because one day, when you look back, you'll realize this was never the end. It was the chapter where you found yourself again,